All right, so today we're going to dive into a really special book. It's called The Undefeated. And, at first glance, you might think, oh, it's a poem, maybe for kids, but let me tell you, it's so much more than that. The way the words by Kwame Alexander and the illustrations by Kadir Nelson come together, it's really powerful. It's like a love letter to Black life here in America.
It really is. And what makes it even more interesting is the moment it was created. Think back to 2008, Kwame Alexander's second daughter was born, and, well, we all remember Barack Obama becoming president. It was a really significant time, and I think understanding that context really adds another layer to the book.
I agree. Yeah, knowing that background definitely informs what we're trying to do today in our deep dive. We really want to explore how this book, The Undefeated, shines a light on figures and events in Black history that haven't always been given the attention they deserve. And it's so hopeful, it reminds us of the strength and all the amazing things Black Americans have contributed, continue to contribute.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the first things you'll notice when you open The Undefeated is that it doesn't follow a traditional story structure. There isn't just one main character. Instead, it's like a whole bunch of individuals woven together, representing so many parts of the Black experience in America throughout history.
Right. It's like they each have their own portrait in this huge gallery showing us different aspects of the story. Take Jesse Owens, for example. His Olympic wins were more than just athletic achievements. They were a huge challenge to the racism that was so prevalent at the time.
Exactly. And then you've got someone like Jack Johnson, the boxer.
Mm.
He represented a different kind of strength and really pushed back against the limitations imposed on Black people back then.
And it's not just about the big names and events. The book also shows us everyday life. Like you see these really powerful images of Black families dealing with tough situations. It's a reminder of the quiet resilience that doesn't always make headlines, but is always there.
And don't forget, the writers and artists, people like Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, Phyllis Wheatley, their work was so important for sharing perspectives and shaping culture. We still feel their influence today.
Oh, absolutely. And we can't overlook the bravery of Black soldiers who fought for this country, even when they weren't always treated equally. It's a powerful statement about patriotism, even in the face of injustice.
And of course, the book pays tribute to those who fought for civil rights, people like John Lewis and Martin Luther King Jr., whose commitment to justice continues to inspire us. And then you have the musicians like Louis Armstrong and Billie Holiday, who left such a mark on music and culture.
What really stays with you, though, is how The Undefeated recognizes all those everyday Black people who kept going, who built lives and communities despite facing incredible challenges.
And to bring it all full circle, the book ends with these images of Black children today. It's like saying this legacy of being undefeated isn't just in the past, it's still unfolding. So we see this huge scope of Black history and this resilient spirit running through it all.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is how the book takes us on this historical journey through a poem rather than, like a straight timeline of events. It's a really unique way to experience history, don't you think?
Definitely. And it takes you through both the incredibly tough times and the triumphs. It doesn't shy away from the horrors of slavery, like that with that image of a slave ship. It's a stark reminder of just how brutal that chapter was.
And it also pays tribute to those who, as the book says, survived America by any means necessary. Such a powerful phrase, right? It really captures the determination to keep going no matter what.
A big part of that journey is the civil rights movement, all those marches and struggles for equality aimed at tearing down segregation and injustice.
But it's also a celebration, isn't it? A celebration of the achievements of Black artists, athletes, activists, all the contributions made to society.
Right, but at the same time, it doesn't ignore the pain.
Yeah.
Things like the church bombing in Birmingham or the continued problem of police brutality. That phrase, "this is for the unspeakable," really underscores how important it is to remember these things, even when they're hard to face.
And yet, through all this, there's such a strong message of hope that despite everything, Black people are undefeated and the future can still be better.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the poetry really comes in. The way it's written allows you to connect with those historical moments emotionally. The rhythm, the imagery, it's not just telling you about history, it's making you feel it.
So, talking about the big ideas in The Undefeated, it's clear that perseverance is a central theme, that refusal to give up no matter how tough things get.
Definitely. That fighting spirit runs throughout the whole book, and related to that is courage. You see it in the well-known leaders, but also in all those everyday people just trying to live their lives.
And we've already touched on this, but remembering history, both the good and the bad, is so important. We have to learn from the past if we want to build a better future.
Absolutely. And even with all the hardships, the undefeated never loses sight of hope. That belief that things can change, that the fight for justice continues.
Reading this book, you can't help but feel that powerful message. Black Lives Matter. It's a statement about inherent value and the need for equality and respect.
And at its heart, the undefeated is a celebration of Black achievements, a spotlight on the rich cultural heritage and the contributions Black people have made to America and the world.
Those words beginning with unforgettable, unafraid, undefeated, they really stick with you. It's like they become this mantra reinforcing the key themes of the book. What do you think about that choice of words?
It's really clever. The unprefix usually means something is missing. But here, it creates these powerful statements. Undefeated, you can't be beaten down. Unafraid, you stand strong in the face of danger. Unforgettable, your story matters and will be remembered. It's a really effective way to frame the narrative, I think. So let's talk about the creators of The Undefeated. Kwame Alexander, the author, is a big name in children's and YA literature. He even won the Newbery Medal for the crossover.
That's right. And we mentioned earlier how his inspiration for this book was so personal, tied to the birth of his daughter and Obama's election in 2008. He wanted his daughters to really understand the significance of that moment in history.
And that leads into his bigger goal, which is to highlight the parts of Black history that haven't gotten enough attention. He believes in the power of poetry to inspire and uplift young readers, and that's clear in his work.
And it's great that he comes from a family of writers and publishers. That kind of environment must have had a huge influence on him. And now he's really dedicated to helping kids develop their writing skills and share their own stories.
And then you have Kadir Nelson, the illustrator. His oil paintings are amazing, so realistic and full of emotion. They add a whole other dimension to the poem.
You're right. The way he portrays both famous and everyday Black people with such dignity and strength, it's remarkable. His art really brings those stories to life.
He's a master of light and color. It's like he uses them to show the inner strength of his subjects. And he's so good at conveying both the joy and the sorrow that are woven into Black history.
There's this one blank page in the book, and it's such a powerful artistic choice. It creates this moment of silence, a space to reflect on those who didn't survive. It's really moving. What did you think about that blank page?
I think it's a powerful moment of silence for those who are lost. It acknowledges that some things are so horrific they're almost impossible to put into words. It's a visual representation of the unspeakable, and it invites us to remember and honor those who suffered. And of course, he won the Caldecott Medal for The Undefeated, which is well-deserved. His work is so important for making sure these stories are seen and remembered. He focuses on African-American history and culture, which is so vital.
For our listeners who love The Undefeated, there are some other great books out there that explore similar themes.
Absolutely. If you want an introduction to lots of different figures in Black history, check out the ABCs of Black History Month by Rio Cortez and Lauren Semmer. And Kadir Nelson, the illustrator of The Undefeated, also wrote and illustrated We Are the Ship, the story of Negro League Baseball, which tells the story of Black baseball players.
And Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson is a memoir in verse about growing up during the Civil Rights Movement. It has that same poetic and reflective quality that you find in The Undefeated.
Another important book is Unspeakable, The Tulsa Race Massacre by Carole Boston Weatherford. It's a tough but crucial read. Just like The Undefeated, doesn't shy away from difficult parts of history.
And if you want to learn about some amazing women, you should read Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History by Vashti Harrison. It really fits with the theme of celebrating Black excellence that runs through The Undefeated. These books all offer different ways to keep exploring Black history and the fight for equality.
So, wrapping up our deep dive today, it's clear that The Undefeated is more than just a children's book. It's a powerful and moving look at Black history.
It really is. It celebrates resilience, courage, and achievements, while also acknowledging the hardships and injustices that have been part of the story. It leaves you with a sense of hope and a reminder of how important it is to remember history.
Oh, absolutely. Makes you think about how art, whether it's poetry or illustration, can be such a powerful way to tell history and create empathy and understanding in ways that maybe traditional history books can't. So our final thought for you is this. What other stories do you think could be told through this kind of creative lens? What stories need to be heard